Today's show is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, the top-rated sportsbooking app in all of North America. Safe, secure, reliable, which we absolutely do love. And we know whenever we're talking DraftKings, man, it's a fresh NFL season started, baby. So we got to have promo codes that hook you up both ways, okay? So for all my new customers out there, when you download the app and you go ahead and you make that initial deposit of $5, you're going to use the promo code. The promo code is MOST. Once you put that in, you're going to receive $250 in bonus bets along with 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. I mean, come on, baby. It doesn't get any better than that. Opportunity to win, opportunity to follow your squad, watch them do what they do, road home. I mean, it's a pretty dope set. It's a pretty dope situation right there, all right? But we also know that, hey, man, sometimes you get lost in the sauce. Sometimes you might develop what we call a gambling problem. Well, if you're living in New York, you know it's a number that you could text. But for everybody else, the digits to dial are 1-800-GAMBLER. You could, when they're playing like that, you could trust them. And early on in the season, there's nothing wrong with that. Offenses typically take a little bit longer to get more on the same page, to get that rhythm. And you think for us in our first 2 weeks, we still haven't had consistency and continuity at the QB spot. This was the first full week for Justin Fields to be preparing as QB1. Last week, he did it on Friday, Saturday. So now, as long as everything stays status quo, he'll get another opportunity this week. So now we're talking about 2 weeks to really build a plan that highlights him and for him to also feel even more comfortable because he's saying to himself, I've seen some of the calls that you're going to call for me and how I played them. Maybe I can do it like this time instead of that. Or maybe I'll check to that versus this. But that only comes as you continue to build that rapport. And preseason training camp, OTAs is one way, but it doesn't have the same impact as in season when you're playing these games and it's like real life information because some of these plays look great in practice, man. But when you go out here and you actually playing against other NFL stars, you're like, nah, the way they play that ain't gonna work, man. But you don't get that information until you get out here. And that's the beautiful part that early on, while we're still gathering all this information with the quarterback situation that we've had, we've still been able to go on the road back-to-back weeks and come out of there with victories, man. Like, that's impressive as heck right now.
And
man.
I think the offense is not going to show up on the scoreboard, I guess, because we had 13 against Denver. It was 18 against Atlanta. But I think the offense and Fields
we both know that was way better. Yep.
Yeah, that first half, Fields looked really good, I thought. I mean, I wrote down.
GP looked balling.
Right.
Like, they looked legit. Man.
I wrote down for Fields' first half performance, this is probably some of the best quarterback play I've seen today. It's just unfortunate. You know, we got conservative in the second half, but whatever. He still did the floor thing that I've been telling him to do is just at least don't turn the ball over. So he pulled that off. But first half, man, he looked like, to me, Ohio State Justin Fields. When we needed him to dink and dunk and be like a pocket passer, he was really decisive getting the ball out. And then when there was a dead play, like the one where Jonathan Cooper came around the edge.
He took off out of there.
Yeah, got up out of there, got 15 yards, and then some of the plays that unfortunately got called back, like the scramble to the right and the throw down the field to Pickens on Surtain.
Bro, it was a dime.
Yeah, absolute dime. Like he was showing a lot of elite traits, but then he was showing a calmness, like a leadership. This is my offense. I'm taking command. And I really liked it. And I was wondering to myself, particularly in that first half, what's Russell Wilson doing better than what Fields is doing right now? I don't think Russ is pulling off some of the scrambles that Fields was doing. I don't think Russ is pulling off that throw that was down the field to Pickens, that scramble to the right and everything. So if you wanted, you could play the woulda, coulda, shoulda game, the hypothetical game, but we only had 4 series in the first half. The first one was 3 and out, but then we had the 2 that we scored on. The one right before halftime technically should have been a touchdown if the ref didn't call that pick play. So it's 14 points. That's 2 touchdowns. Then the third series was the Broderick Jones series, which was
Did you
just
call
something.
it time out?
I think you could just throw that out. Like
bro.
what was Russ doing on that Broderick Jones series better than what we did?
Did you call it the Broderick Jones series? Why you gotta label it that? Just say the third series, man. Don't do them like that. God.
But I think Fields looked really impressive.
He did. Now, how do you feel about the people that will bring up the lack of production in the second half? Because you know that's going to be the
think
rebuttal,
that was
man.
approach. I think that was mentality. I think that was less on fields versus just what the coaching staff was asking for and what the offense needed to do. Yeah, Fields could have played better and everything, but I think with the penalties and us shooting ourselves in the foot, at least Fields didn't turn it over. That was my main takeaway from that second half and didn't put us in a detrimental spot.
Yeah.
Where it became a one-score game and, the snap of a finger. Yeah, I thought he was fine. I mean, dude, sometimes, if you start off fast like that, sometimes you don't have to be Superman or do anything crazy in the second half.
Yeah.
I would like to finish the game. Trust me, I think that's way more optimal than how it played out. But at the same time, we may have the best defense in the league, and there's many times in the Ben Roethlisberger era where we're winning games like this. It's 13-6, 13-7, 16-10, and you're sitting there on Monday and not even thinking anything about it.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, that was a good win, gritty win, whatever, on to the next week. I get that's a different era of football, but it almost feels like we're bringing that era of football to the modern day.
Yeah,
with how we're playing.
The big difference too, Ben was already proven.
Sure.
So that's the big difference.
100%.
Whereas I think people
100%.
are still. People are starting to warm up to Fields, but I think that there's still going to be skeptics out here that say, man, yes, we won, but the fact that it still was a one-score game, the fact that Bo Nix still technically had a chance to tie this thing, or it could have got weird if they would have tried to go for two or some weirdo stuff, at the end and mess around and win. Like, they look at that and they say, well, if he is all of these things, why can't he, in the midst of all of this, kind of elevate above it? So the way I looked at it, man, I thought that in the midst of all that chaos, I agree. He was the calming presence. He made sure that we got
crazy to say.
Like,
I would have never thought that months ago, or whenever we were talking about potentially trading for Fields.
Yeah, because that was the thing for me. I was like, man, I was impressed with how calm he remained and how he was able to kind of keep everybody at bay. And even though, we could make the cases of would you have want to see the coaching staff kind of trust him a little bit more in some of those third and long situations instead of calling the draw plays and stuff like that. Like, give him an opportunity to challenge it. Sure. But I think in time that will come. I think right now, this is still very much, I'm learning you. This is still very much an audition for Fields.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to do anything that is going to negatively impact him either. And I think yesterday was a prime example of that in that second half. Could we have had him take more chances and expose him to more negativity? Sure. But it didn't call for that.
For the sake of what?
Right.
To see what Fields' development could be. Let's just wait and see that happen in the future at some point.
When it organically is time, it'll be time and we'll find out. But you can't rush this process. And at the same time, knowing that Russ is still compromised based off of how Coach Simon communicated last time, it's like, you're going to probably get this out. You're going to get the opportunity this week, man.
Yeah.
So this might be a very different way that this game plays out just because the Chargers are a better team than the Falcons and the Broncos. But if that is the test, then great. Like, let us give him an opportunity. This is a great opportunity. It's a great test. And I think along his progression, this is another big check. Now, if he comes out here and he passes with flying colors, I think it's a big conversation that's going to be had when Russ is finally healthy.
Absolutely.
If he comes out and he lays an egg, I think, okay, when Russ comes back, people are going to be more looking towards him being healthy and returning. I think if it's kind of like what we've been seeing right now, people are still going to kind of lean on Russ wanting him to get back a little bit sooner. So that's the thing. I'm like, man, let him get the opportunity, though. We can't say he's going to fail if we haven't even given him the chance to fail.
Right.
And thus far, he's led us to 2 victories. And I do feel like this performance was better than last week's, even though statistically it doesn't all the way reflect it. But the penalties are impactful because otherwise he's having multiple touchdown passes. And the thing that I will say...
Oh, and the penalties that were in our favor, too, took away
100%.
from some of his yardage.
100%. But I would also say this because I don't want to sound hypocritical because I know I'm big on don't tell me what could have happened in this fairy tale stuff. Like, and that was always my issue with the Kenny stuff, right? It's like he didn't throw the touchdown, but we're saying he could have. That wasn't the case with Justin Fields yesterday. We saw Justin Fields hit that 51-yard pass to GP on pass return. Did we not see that? It got called back. But we saw the throw. We saw the catch. We saw the completion.
I can't unsee it.
You see what I'm saying? I saw him throw the touchdown pass to GP to the left with that little weak pick. I'm like, yo, are you flagging him because
What's
he was
Pickens doing, man? Just get in the end zone.
He makes everything look weird, right? I'm like, bro, why you want to play, bro? I'm like, why you want to play, man? But
He's shown that he could have that type of body control when
I
he's carrying the
suppose,
ball
bro.
too.
I suppose. But for me, it was good to see that, man, I physically saw him throw that touchdown pass. It's not the, man, he could have threw it if we didn't call this run play, or he could have threw it if we called this play. It's like, no, he actually did throw that. Now, it got called back, but we saw that play. We saw this pass play. We saw him make these scrambles.
I saw the other one where he got drilled in the second half, an out route for a first down. I think that was that the Dan Moore penalty?
Yes, came back.
Hung in the pocket.
It looked good.
Laser.
Yeah. And that's my thing. It's like we're actually seeing him make plays. It's not the illusion of he can because of his ability. It's like, no, we watched this happen. I can pull up the clip and break it down from start to finish and tell you it happened. And that's the beautiful part. And that's why, for me, I'm a little bit more encouraged about what I'm seeing from him. But that's why, to me, I'm like, the next step is this week right here versus Chargers. Because Falcons, they're cool. I think Falcons are better than the Broncos. But we took care of both of those games, and I thought they kind of played out the way they should have. We were way more physical than Denver, and it showed from start to finish. Bo had his little moments, but Bo had rookie stuff going on. Our pass rush was a little bit, I thought we was going to have a little bit more success with that. I was a little bit, yeah, it was still good, but I thought we could have been a little bit better.
We didn't finish. We got really close.
Yeah, bro. I was like, we didn't do him like I thought we were supposed to do him.
I think it impacted some of his throws.
Oh,
though.
for certain it did.
Like he was all over the place.
Yeah, for certain it did. But that was my own. I was like, I felt like we could have done that just a little bit more. But to me, I'm like, yo, this is going to be a great test for him, man. The Chargers, they are a good football team. They're coached well. They're physical. Think Michigan. You watched Michigan last year. That's what them Chargers are on right now.
Yeah, they
are
Justin
trying
Herbert.
to run the football. They are trying to pound you out. They're going to play defense, and they're going to have him make plays in spurts. That's what they're doing right now. So
kind of sounds like us.
It does, right? But it's funny how the perception surrounding us is we suck. We're, barely getting out of these things. Quarterback issue. The Chargers, they like, hey, man, y'all finding ways to win. Y'all taking the pressure off of Justin Herbert. Man, if y'all can win like this without Justin Herbert having to be Superman, imagine when you give him an opportunity. You see what I'm saying? And that's the perception because, once again, with Herbert, we all just agree he's further along in terms of where he's at NFL-wise, whereas the questions are still around Fields right now. But I think...
And you felt like the coach for Herbert his first few years was
correct.
Holding him back, and he needed a coach to try to figure out everything else around him.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
But it is funny. I was saying that last week. Everyone's praising Jim Harbaugh and how he's winning games. And I'm looking at myself, this is the exact same way Mike Tomlin wins games.
Man.
Why are we taking that for granted so much?
It's craziness, man.
Because I think the only thing, if you look back these last couple years that maybe could have been a difference maker for some of our teams is just the quarterback play. We saw last year what we could be with Mason Rudolph. I think that would have been a 12-win team easily.
Quarterback play matters. We were night and day from when Mason started them last couple of games to where we were at midseason or even at the beginning of the season. And we saw even how it impacted the defense.
Yep. And that was a broken down defense too at that point.
Yeah.